Hello, and welcome back to the English Grammar course. This is Marian, and today I'll be leading you on a discovery of direct and indirect speech. First, though, let's review the content from our last lesson on punctuation. We use a full stop or period at the end of a sentence to indicate a finished idea or to break up a sentence. Joseph has worked in this restaurant for 4 years. We use a comma to separate independent clauses, especially when they are joined by coordinating conjunctions, like and, but, so, or, nor, yet, for. They couldn't decide on what bar to go to, so they stayed home instead. We use a comma when a dependent clause precedes a main clause in a sentence, which means when it comes before the main or independent clause. For example, when his girlfriend left, John was very sad. We use commas to separate clauses that give extra information in a sentence. Vincent, my half-brother, is a vegan chef in Belgium. We use commas to separate items, verbs, or a series of phrases in a list, with the final two items generally being separated by the conjunctions and or nor. For example, the spider crawled along the wall, moved toward the bed, then disappeared under the sheets. We use commas before a name when we address someone. Let's go for coffee, Jamie. We use a semicolon to join phrases and sentences that are related to each other without having to use a conjunction. I can't believe you're here. I didn't think you'd come. We use colons to introduce lists. You only need 3 things to make your house cozier: plants, soft lighting, and a comfortable sofa. We use colons for emphasis. She was shocked. The whole trip had been a lie. Question marks always come at the end of a question. Where did she go on holiday? Exclamation marks are used to express surprise, frustration, or to emphasize a comment or short, sharp phrase, such as an interjection. I'm just so excited for you. All right, that sums it up. So let's practice. Which sentence is correct? I can't believe you ran the whole marathon. The second sentence is correct. This is an expression of surprise. Therefore, we need an exclamation mark. My favorite desserts are chocolate cake, ice cream, and fruit salad. The second sentence is correct. We are listing different nouns. Therefore, they must be separated by commas. What is your favorite vegetable? The first sentence is correct. This is a simple question. It does not require a colon. You only need one thing to pass this course: determination. The second sentence is correct. We need a colon to emphasize the final word, determination. Please take the trash out when you leave the house. The first sentence is correct. The comma is unnecessary here. I was riding my bicycle when a car came at me, didn't slow down, and knocked me to the ground. The first sentence is correct. We use commas to separate different phrases in a sentence. We do not need to use a colon, especially before the conjunction and. I want to eat Linda. The second sentence is correct, but so is the first one, depending on what you mean. If you want to eat Linda, if you want her in your mouth and in your belly, the first sentence is correct. If you simply are telling Linda that you want to eat something, then the second sentence is correct. Ben, like Lori, wants to go home for Christmas. The second sentence is correct. Like Lori is extra information and should be preceded and followed by a comma. Great work! Now let's move on to today's lesson on direct and indirect speech. When you want to report to someone what someone else has said or asked, there are two ways to do so, with direct and indirect speech. Indirect speech is also called reported speech and will be referred to as both throughout the remainder of this course. For example, Maria, I want to go to the cinema. To directly report what Maria has said, we do it as follows. Maria said, I want to go to the cinema. To indirectly report what Maria has said, we can say, Maria said she wants to go to the cinema. Occasions like social situations, work emails, presentations, or sharing the content of a phone call all require repeating what someone has said, thereby using either direct or indirect speech. It is also very common to see these forms of speech in news articles. Reporting speech, whether directly or indirectly, consists of two clauses, the reporting clause and the reported clause. The reporting clause uses verbs like say, tell, ask, reply, and is generally in the past tense, whereas the reported clause indicates what the original speaker has said or asked. For example, Lisa told her sister, "You either come home now or never come home." Notice how the verb tell is in the past simple tense. Lisa told her sister to either come home now or never come home. In both these examples of direct and indirect speech, Lisa told her sister is the reporting clause, whereas you either come home now or never come home, or to either come home now or never come home, are both reported clauses. Direct speech repeats or quotes the exact words someone has said or used. In written English, we place the reported words in quotation marks, and the words must be kept exactly as they were first said. Johnny, do you want to order dinner? Johnny asked, "Do you want to order dinner?" It's common to use this in books or newspaper articles. The president declared yesterday, "The government will continue to fight against crime in every way possible." Direct speech generally has a reporting verb in the past simple because the speaker is repeating something that was said in the near or distant past. Lola, I want to go home. Lola said, "I want to go home." The reporting clause can come before or after the reported speech. Aaron shouted, "You're a mean old man." "You're a mean old man," shouted Aaron. With certain literary styles, like novels, the reporting clause may even come in the middle of the reported speech. "I can't believe it," whispered Amy. "I won." In these styles, it's typical to use adverbs to indicate how the speaker said something, and this is usually used when the reporting clause comes second. "We finished our project," sang Delilah happily. In informal and spoken English, it's common to sometimes use the present simple when using direct speech. This makes it more dramatic or exciting. Alex, "So, this big guy walks up to me and says, 'You better watch your mouth.'" It's equally possible to use the present continuous for the same reason. Maria, "I'm at the bar and this guy won't leave me alone. He's asking me questions like, 'Where do you live?' and wouldn't take the hint and leave." As mentioned in our previous lesson on punctuation, we use quotation marks in direct speech, or to repeat what someone has said. "I'm so angry with her," yelled Jonah. Notice how we use the quotation marks before the first word of the reported speech and after the comma at the end of the reported speech. We can also change the order of the clauses and therefore place the comma outside of the quotation marks. This is very important to remember. Jonah yelled, "I'm so angry with her." If using an exclamation or question mark in the reported clause, then we do not need a comma. "I can't believe she did the marathon," said Louise. "I can't believe she did the marathon," said Louise. This only applies when the reported clause comes before the reporting clause. All right, Let's practice. Can you choose the correct direct speech form of these reported sentences? My mother admitted that she was wrong. The first sentence is correct. I was wrong, admitted my mother. The reporting verb must be in the past simple tense. Barbara asked if she could borrow his pen. The first sentence is correct. May I borrow your pen? Asked Barbara. We can also use the modal verb can, but the error in the second sentence is the comma. There is already an exclamation mark. Therefore, we do not need a comma after the quotation. She shouted that she never wanted to talk to me again. The first sentence is correct. I never want to talk to you again, she shouted. In the second sentence, there should be a comma after shouted and before the quotation mark. The order of the clauses does not matter and are correct in both sentences. Dylan excitedly announced that he's going to adopt a dog. The second sentence is correct. I'm going to adopt a dog, announced Dylan excitedly. We said we were very excited for the trip. The second sentence is correct. The second sentence is correct. Look at the comma. I explained that I was looking for the toilet. The second sentence is correct. Don't forget those quotation marks. Wonderful. Let's move on to indirect speech. We use it to focus more on the content of what someone has said rather than their exact words. Reported or indirect speech is generally used to talk about a past conversation. Therefore, we change the tense of the words spoken. We use verbs like say, tell, ask, and often use the word that to introduce the reported words. We do not use quotation marks in indirect speech. In indirect speech, the structure of the reported clause will vary based on whether the speaker is reporting a statement, a question, or a command. With statements, we generally use that clauses, and it's more common to put the reporting clause first in reported speech. Robber. I was in the bank at the time of the robbery. The suspect admitted that he was in the bank at the time of the robbery. That he was in the bank at the time of the robbery is what we refer to as a that clause. It is the reported clause. In some cases, it's okay to use the reporting clause at the end of the sentence. in which case we use a comma between the two clauses. They told us everyone is welcome to the party. Everyone is welcome to the party, they told us. It is also common to not use the conjunction that in informal situations. Take note, informal situations. I told my brother that I didn't want to play. I told my brother I didn't want to play. When indirectly reporting questions, we can use if clauses. Are you coming? Asked my mother. My mother asked me if I was coming. We can also use the word whether in these situations. My mother asked me whether I was coming. This is generally the way to report yes/no questions. To report WH questions, meaning with the words who, what, where, when, why, we use these clauses: who clauses, what clauses, where clauses, etc. What is that animal? She wondered. She wondered what that animal was. Be careful. Do not use exclamation or question marks in reported speech. For example, what are you doing? They asked. They asked me what I was doing. We do not put a question mark at the end of the reported speech. When reporting commands, we use the preposition to plus the infinitive. Stop shouting, her father ordered. Her father ordered her to stop shouting. Great work! Let's take a break from all this information that I've just given you and practice reporting statements, questions, and commands. Look at the direct speech and choose its correct reported form. Who lives here? Asked Jane. Jane asked who lives here. We do not use question marks in indirect speech. I'm ready for the meeting, Tom declared. Tom declared that he is ready for the meeting. We must use a reporting verb in the past simple tense. Lori laughed. Do you want me to help you with that? The first sentence is correct. Lori laughingly asked me if I needed help. In indirect speech, you must use a reporting verb and can therefore use it with an adverb of manner, for example. The secretary whispered, "The clients have arrived, sir." The second sentence is correct. The secretary whispered that the clients had arrived. We do not need a comma in this sentence. Show them where to sit, the manager told me. The manager told me to show them where to sit. In reporting commands, we use to plus the infinitive, so don't forget that preposition. Can I have an iced latte, please? Asked the customer. The customer asked for an iced latte. We use please when we are directly speaking to someone. When reporting speech, we do not need to include it. Wonderful! Now, there are many verbs we can use to report what someone has said, but the verb say is most commonly used in direct speech. Be careful when using the verbs say and tell. We use say when there is no indirect object. She said she wanted cake. We use tell when there is an indirect object. She told me she wanted cake. Me is an indirect object. It receives the action. She is the subject. Told is the action. Me is the indirect object receiving the action. So be careful. We do not say, she said me she wanted cake. There is no indirect object with the verb say. Equally, we do not say, she told she wanted cake. There must always be an indirect object with the verb tell. She told me she wanted cake. There are many examples of reporting verbs that can be used in both direct and indirect speech. Here are some examples. Ask, reply, declare, shout, yell, cry, murmur, admit, comment, complain, explain, demand, answer, agreed, promise. Here are some examples in full sentences. I'm scared, she murmured. She murmured that she was scared. What is this? He wondered. He wondered what that was. This plate is dirty, she complained loudly. She loudly complained that her plate was dirty. Tom observed his sister carefully. You're being very quiet. Tom carefully observed that his sister was being quiet. Finally, it's also interesting to note that we can report more than just words, but also what people write or think. This applies to both direct and indirect speech. I'm sorry, wrote Nathan in his letter. Nathan wrote in his letter that he was sorry. I need to make better choices in life, she thought to herself. She thought to herself that she needed to make better choices in life. All right, time for our task-based activity. Here is an excerpt from an article by the sociologist Daniel Lindemann from the website www.edition.cnn.com, where she argues that reality TV shows reflect our real world and society. We will read the text together, then you will have 3 minutes to identify the uses of direct and reported speech. So let's read. Lindemann, a sociologist, was raised on reality TV and teaches a seminar on the genre at Lehigh University. Reality TV has sort of followed me across my life, Lindemann told CNN ahead of her book's release. Especially in the lowest points of my life, I often turn to reality TV. As it turns out, many people do. Reality TV is kind of real life, dialed up to 11, Lindemann said. But it's oftentimes by looking at these exaggerated caricatures and tracing their outlines that we come to a greater understanding of ourselves. At one point in the book's introduction, Lindemann describes reality TV as elements of our culture in drag form, referencing the philosopher Judith Butler's theory that the art of drag elucidates the ways in which we perform gender within narrow confines. The same theory can be applied to the ways we consider race, sexuality, class, and ourselves, Lindemann writes. All right, 3 minutes. Find all the instances of direct and indirect speech. Good luck! Great work! You may notice how in news articles there are mainly uses of direct and indirect speech, as news articles report stories, statements, and words from people around the world. There are 3 uses of direct speech in this article, as indicated by the use of quotation marks, and 2 examples of indirect speech that are recognizable by the use of reporting verbs, like referencing or writes. Great work! Let's move on to review. Jody asked, "What are you doing?" "What are you doing?" asked Jody. Direct speech repeats or quotes the exact words someone has said or used. Direct speech generally has a reporting verb in the past simple tense, and the reporting clause can come before or after the reported speech. "I'm going to the supermarket," announced her mom. Her mom announced, "I'm going to the supermarket." In direct speech, we use quotation marks. When the reported clause comes first, we place the comma before the ending quotation mark, unless there is already another punctuation, like a question or exclamation mark. If we change the order of the clauses, the comma stays outside of the quotation marks. "I'm tired," cried Nathan. Nathan cried that he was tired. Indirect speech focuses more on the content of what someone has said rather than their exact words. With reported or indirect speech, the structure of the reported clause changes whether the speaker is reporting a statement, question, or command. We do not use quotation marks in indirect speech. With statements, we generally use that clauses, and it's more common to put the reporting clause first in reported speech. When indirectly reporting questions, "Are you ready to go?" asked my mom. My mom asked if I was ready to go. When indirectly reporting questions, we can use if clauses. We can also use the word whether in these situations. My mom asked whether I was ready to go. "What's your name?" asked the handsome man. The handsome man asked me what my name is. To report who, what, where, when, why, or whose kind of questions, we use those clauses. When reporting commands, we use the preposition to with the infinitive. "Sit down," barked the officer. The officer barked at me to sit down. There are many verbs we can use to report speech, both directly and indirectly. 2 very common verbs are say and tell. We use say when there is no indirect object. "She said to clean the dishes." We use tell when there is an indirect object. "She told me to clean the dishes." Great work today! This was quite the lesson. In our next video, we will be learning more in detail how to convert direct into indirect speech by looking at pronouns, adverbs of time and place, and most importantly, verb tenses. Thank you for tuning in today, for participating and learning, and I can't wait to see you soon.